Dr. Wood, tonight's subject matter is some red flags to unhealthy relationships, passive aggressive behaviors, and I'm the author of the book Miracles Minutes. Some of you may be wondering, what kind of doctor am I? I'm a chiropractor, but also I don't like to be framed in a context of limiting me as a human being. That would be a prejudice on the part of the one listening versus allowing me to speak as I am and what I have studied. So I also studied some psychology. I study brain science, and I study human performance and how can we have the best life possible. So in living life, I've made many mistakes and I've got caught in many traps. And one of the traps, is that I became a doctor because I'm a caring person, so I'm a compassionate person, so I tend to listen and have a lot of empathy for other people. However, what I learned recently is caring people actually need boundaries because there are boundaries to love and to caring. Because if you don't have boundaries, then what happens is you're out of bounds, you have no boundary line to stop yourself, and you can run into people who are called takers. So you become a giver and they become a taker, and it winds up in being something called a dependent codependency relationship. So a dependent is one who usually is not looking to step up to the plate in life, to be responsible for themselves. They're irresponsible, or they will not respond. They don't do well in communicating and making their needs known. But this is all Western culture, so I have a lot of latitude and mercy for that. Like, I'm not a perfect communicator either. So let's talk about one of the big red flags is people are not responsible for their lives. In a disagreement, they will never take responsibility, and always it's your fault. And so they use, passive aggressive behavior, and they tend to cloak themselves. So they start out really great. They could be charismatic, they could be charming, they could be very loving, they could be kind. This is the wolf in sheep's clothing. So after a while, they start making demands of you. If you loved me, then you would. If you're my friend, then you would. So that's actually a form of aggression. And what they're doing is they know that you're very giving and you tend not to stand your own ground for yourself. And what they'll do is they'll just take and take and take and take. And it's always your fault. You're not a good friend and you're not living up to your end of the bargain. Well, there may be times of that we aren't a good friend. You have to weigh that. But one of the problems in society is people pleasing, and that people tell you to be nice, just be nice. Well, nice is not actually healthy. I know it's common in what people tell us, but being nice is not being authentic because every human being has needs, and you're not here to sacrifice your life as a martyr to save someone else who refuses to step up to the plate. That's not being nice to yourself, and you're not showing self-respect. You have more respect for other people's opinions than you do of your own opinion of yourself. So if you're that type of person, what's happened is all your power is outside yourself. You're looking for other people to knight you and acknowledge you and to validate you in your opinion and get a gold star on your chart and be that A student that you'll feel good about yourself. You don't need to do that. And in doing that, if you live that way, you're going to get beat up a lot in life. And then you're going to come back and say, I don't understand. Such a nice person, such a nice guy, such a nice girl. Why is this happening to me? Is because you don't have any self-respect. You value other people's opinions more than your own. And if you do that, you tend to wind up independent, codependent relationships. So the dependent person always needs you to come do something for them. And they're very good at using guilt shaming. Guilt shaming is they make you feel guilty for not coming to help them. That's false guilt on your part because you're willing to give up yourself, sacrifice your life and your time for this person where the relationship's always one-sided. You're always there, they're never over here. So that's not healthy. So again, this is codependency. It's very common. I'm making this known now so that way if you're a giving person, you have to ask yourself, how's your life working out for you? What is your definition of love? And maybe your definition of love is not actually love. It's actually enabling others to take advantage of yourself. And who you're not showing love to is yourself. So Look for out for people who are usually, if you cared about me, or use guilting to make you do things. Because even the Bible says, you go to church and some of these people are like, well, if you don't tithe, then da 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 da. God says if you're doing it because out of guilt or obligation, He said, stick you get no credit for your money you give. It should come because out of your love of your heart, out of thankfulness, out of gratitude. This is the context of a healthy relationship. I'm doing it because I choose to do it, because I'm doing it from love, and I'm not expecting anything in return. It's not I do this for you, you do that for me, which is a conditional love. It should be I'm doing it because I want to. Now, if the other party is never stepping up to the plate in the relationship, and they're always accusing you of not being a good enough friend or doing anything for them, you might want to take a look at that, because the accusations of your personhood is not from a loving place. It's actually from a place of manipulation and using guilt and shaming you and being subversive to get you to do things for them, and they're seeing how much crap they can give you and how much they get away with. So if you're really caring, you'll actually put up a lot of crap until one day you finally put your foot down. But there's no reason to do that. Just look at what's your definition of love? Are you loving yourself, and are you taking care of yourself first? Because if you don't take care of yourself, who is? So that's self-love, self-respect. So some of the things you want to look at, and what red flags is people who are not responsible for anything in their life. They're never wrong. They never apologize. And an apology is not, I'm sorry. That's not an apology. An apology is, I, for example, I said this to you the other day, and it needs to be specific. Wow, I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings, and I lost control of my emotions, and I know that's no excuse, but that's not the type of person I am. I'm a loving, kind person. I'm a person of my word. I'm a person who's under emotional control, or that's what I'm committed to. You count on me from here on out being that type of person. That's restoring your integrity. I'm sorry is a pacifist. It's a pacifier. It doesn't, you always feel at a loss when someone says that to you. You don't feel like you've been made whole. It feels like something was covered over, because it was. It's bullshit. I'm sorry is bullshit. You're sorry for what? What did you mean? What are you being responsible for? What's the wrong? You want them to own the wrong so that way they can accept that they did that, so that way they can change it. If they speak in generalities, well, I'm sorry for just being upset the other day. That's not specific. So I hope that clarifies things, and a little bit of communication lesson today, and how to recognize passive aggressive behaviors to some degree, and to encourage you to love yourself and stick up for yourself. If not, you're going to get run over. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.